What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today's day 2 of ownership of the brand new Z06. We just got it yesterday. Got about 70 miles on it, I believe, 79 miles on it. We're gonna get some more miles on it today. I'm gonna give you guys my first impressions of the car. Let's see how many miles we got on this thing. We got 79 miles on the car. Hoping to get a few more today because we need to get to that 500 miles so we can start ripping on this thing. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get a cold start on the brand new 2023 Z06. Brand new car smell. Smells so good. With this car, unlike the last C8 that we had, I'm gonna go ahead and warm it up every time before we take off. With the other C8, I used to just jump right in and it took off and it didn't have any problems. It did well. But this one, I just wanna let her warm up before we get going. First thing you can tell, the difference between a C8 and a Z06 is the sound. Even at idle, this thing just sounds so different. It's got that kind of like a supercar sound to it. We haven't had a chance to open up all the way yet because we're still into that braking period. So under 500 miles, we got to keep under 6,500 RPM. I think I've got it up to like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, but I still haven't seen, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. So can't wait for that. When I'm looking out my mirrors, it's giving me wide body vibes. It gives me Liberty Walk vibes. Not quite as pronounced as Liberty Walk, but they definitely stick out a lot wider. I think it's 3.5 inches wider as opposed to the 8 inches the Liberty Walk gave. It's got plenty of ground clearance there. Didn't have any issues coming out of my driveway. What you do notice though is the sound of that engine. That engine is totally different. And then the way that transmission engages, it has a little bit of slip. Like if you're just off the brake, it'll start rolling for you. But if you start engaging the gas pedal, like pressing on the gas pedal, you'll start to hear like the clutch kind of like slip and then slowly engage. I love this thing, guys. This thing feels so planted. It's very stiff. The C8 was way bouncier. This is stiff. This thing is special, guys. Oh, it's so smooth. Every shift, all the revs, it's just so smooth. We're only getting it to like 2,000 or 3,000 RPM, but whew, has a couple pops there. Doesn't get nearly as hot as the C8. The C8 used to get to like 180, 190, 200, 210. You hear those fans going crazy. It's a pretty hot day. It's 93 degrees outside. We're sticking around 171 right now. You got that third radiator now in the front of the middle of the bumper. So you had on the C8 you had 2 radiators on the sides. Well, now you got one in the center of the bumper for the C8 Z06, and I think you also have an extra radiator. I think on the driver's side, where we didn't have one before. One of the sides. I don't know which one it was. Little bump. Oh, that was you felt that bump. It wasn't very high. It wasn't like a speed bump. It's kind of a high bump though. But you felt that. Yeah, you felt the bumps. Woo! That's just like 3,000 RPM, guys. That's literally nothing. When you hear that sound, oh, I want to open it up so bad. Another 420 miles. Another thing that I noticed that I'm super happy about is there's no more cylinder deactivation on the Z06. Probably why the gas mileage is so bad. I think it averages like 12 in the city or 14 in the city. I think it's 12 and the 19 on the highway. C8 did a lot better, but it had that cylinder deactivation. But because we don't have that, you don't have that terrible ticking noise coming out behind the passenger side anymore. You don't have that terrible sound that it makes whenever it goes from 8 cylinders down to 4 cylinders. You don't have to keep it in track mode. You don't have to keep it in manual mode. You can literally enjoy automatic mode now. I'm so happy they did away with that. Oh, this transmission is so amazing the way it shifts. It's so smooth. I cannot wait to get this thing on a track. Throw this thing in track mode and see if this thing can downshift when it needs to, kind of like the PDK in the GT3 RS. Gosh, I love this shifts. It is so smooth, guys. That's 4,000. That was a 3,800 RPM shift right there. Cabin noise isn't too bad. It's loud. It's way louder than the C8 was. It blows my mind how loud these things come out of the factory now. I love it. I'm not complaining. All right, so let's test out this suspension. We We got some curvy roads coming up. Let's see how much this thing differs in the C8. The C8 was really good. I was so surprised with that car. When I first drove that car, I went from the C7 Z06, and I felt like they went from C7 to like C10. That car just handled so well. Took it to the tail of the dragon up the mountains, North Carolina and Tennessee, and that thing was amazing. I was just carving those turns left and right. It literally blew my mind. You can only imagine this thing's got to be about a million times better. So super excited to try out some of these corners. Oh, dude, easy, easy. Oh, it's not even trying. It just literally just carves around it. It's like there's literally barely any input into the steering wheel, and it just whoop, right around it. No big deal. This thing is going to be a blast on the track. That's the thing about the C8 is it makes you feel like a race car driver. It instills so much confidence in you. It's so planted, it's so nimble. It just makes you feel like you can do anything, and that's probably why there's so many accidents in these C8s, is because it gives you that sense of confidence. I mean, and it will handle quite a bit, but you still, you know, you can push anything too far. This is still in touring. The suspension is in touring mode. It's not even in sport. I'm still having it in touring. That's the craziest thing. It's definitely bumpier than the C8 though. This is touring mode, and you feel those bumps. You feel everything in the steering wheel. A lot of feedback to the steering wheel. I like that. Here we go. You don't have to hit the brakes. You just go. Ah! I love this thing, man. I think it's getting louder. Every mile that we put on this thing, it just gets louder and louder. It's loud. It's way louder than the C8 was. C8 was never this loud. I don't know if it's because I have the 1LZ. Maybe the 1LZ has less sound deadening. Maybe someone else would know. Is it 3LZ this loud on the inside? Alright guys, we're back at home. Put a little over 100 miles on the car. We're at 181 miles now. I tell you what, this thing is a thirsty girl. She uses some gas. I believe we had 3/4 tank before we left. 100 miles basically almost took up almost 3/8 or a half a tank of gas. And that's just barely driving, guys. So I can't imagine once you get on this thing, it's gonna be really thirsty. Alright, so first impressions of the Z06. I'd have to say it's a totally different car. Besides the fact that it cosmetically, the body looks like a C8, the interior looks like a C8. Other than that, I'd say that's pretty much the only thing the Z06 resembles of the C8. I mean, a little bit of the suspension. I always liked the way the C8 handled. I thought it handled really well for what it was, a base Corvette. You could definitely tell, you know, the Z06 has that, but way more. It's like the C8 on steroids, essentially. Yeah, other than the body looking pretty much the same, except that it's wider now, 3.5 inches, and the interior looking the same. It's totally different. Engine's totally different. The exhaust sounds totally different. Even the transmission itself, I know it's still dual clutch 8-speed, but totally different the way it behaves. It handles phenomenally now. It takes corners like no other, like they're not even there. It's amazing. So first impressions, I absolutely love the car. Can't wait to get in it again. Can't wait to throw a couple hundred more miles on it. Can't wait to make a ton of content for you guys. I love the Z06. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Peace.